Well, this is a spatial to lineal transition of a baby swimming next to its mother. This would be the point of the face. This would be the nose bump right here. And as you come up, you have the dorsal fin. And then it becomes linear inside and becomes the tail. And this is its mother swimming next to it. Here's her eyeball. And it has a heart inside. We're now looking at the mother and child piece. And I decided to put a baby on here because this was a really large branch. It was almost the same thickness as the center of the body. And so instead of just taking it all the way down, I thought it would be fun to have a child with it. And so we were able to make two characters right next to each other, all out of the same piece. And the baby is not really fragile. It's attached to the mother right at the eye. They're cheek to cheek. They're like dancing. And the fin here, this one's very stabilized. This one's really against the baby's body, but the tail is just sitting right on top of the other fin. And it worked out really well. You see, when you carve things out of the trees, you have these levels of lines that look like depth. And the higher up you are, you just have a different pattern. And so the baby actually looks like it could even be a different piece altogether. But it's not. It just gives that good effect. I really like the way that came out, actually. This is nearest the top of the tree itself, where it's more golden. And then as you go inside, of course, it's darker and browner, and that's how this wood is coming off this way. So instead of just removing it, I just left the baby in place, had to carve it. It was very difficult, really, to work in between it. There's very few tools that work well on the inside that don't just score and mess the thing up. So it was fun. It was a real challenge to work on this piece. I liked it. This is a piece of mango. The base is mango wood from a tree that I had to take out to make the house bigger. And it was a burl that was on the side of the tree that I cut out and just shaped, tried to get it to look like a big splash. However, it sometimes looks like a big flawn with a well coming out of it to me. And it was part of the tree. The tree looked like what it was. I look for that when I'm going to find pieces to work on. I want the spirit of the tree to have already made what I'm looking for. And it really helps with the lines of the piece itself and also the strength. Yes, Ron, I'm right here. Well, this piece is jumping out of the water, and it's right at the top. It's not falling in yet, and it's not still jumping out of the water. It's at the apex. It's at Apogee for its lurch out of the water. And it's just curving and trying to fall in its back direction. The whale is a different type of wood than the base. The base is a piece of mango that's very well seasoned. It sat under my house for quite a few years, and it's how you achieve the spalting look. The bug holes and worm holes and everything really add to the effect of bubbles and everything else that you see in the piece. Let me turn it. I'll turn it this way so I can pick her up. There's one particular way that it likes to get picked up. It's like this. The whale itself is a piece of kamani, which is a rather common tree, but it does make the configuration that I'm looking for. And so I use it very often in my sculpture. It's a good tree because it's not one of the indigenous species that's going out that we don't have much of anymore, like the koa. Although koa is quite pretty, this is a beautiful wood in itself. It's golden near the surface, and then it goes down into hues of brown and red, which I've always liked about it. It's really a gorgeous wood for a tree that grows that quickly. Okay, sweetheart, you back in there, okay? Okay. The tail had to be fitted into the block itself. I cut a little slot here to set her into, and I had to lift her up and down probably 100 times just to get it right, because it has to sit perfectly so that it's carrying the weight uniformly. Otherwise, the tail is probably the most fragile part on the whale itself. So standing it up on its tail was something I had thought of but never thought I'd really achieve. And since my friend asked for it, I thought it'd be fun to try. This piece, when I was looking to find pieces to carve, this had in the tree itself the whale that I was looking for. And all I do is I bring this down to a blank of a whale, basically, and then I locate where I would like the barnacles and all the tubercles to go, and then I remove everything else down until it's fair, and then start working on the barnacles and bringing them into what they are. They're part of what makes whales look more alive. They're not really slick. I don't try to get rid of all my cut marks because it gives the skin sort of a dimpling effect and makes it feel more realistic. But this piece had everything that I wanted, and they're very rare to find. So when I'm looking for pieces, I try to get with the tree cutters that are around here and try to get there ahead, because normally they'll cut everything off that I want. You know, thinking that I want this pickle to carve. And what I want is for there to be movement in the piece. I want it to look like it's alive and moving. I spend much more time just looking at it as a meditation than I do carving. Well, we're downstairs in my studio, or my work area, and these are two pieces that are just being roughed in at this time. And this one is going to be a mother with a child, a juvenile also. And the baby is going to be in this area right here. And this is the tip of the face of the mother whale. And they'll be somewhat cheek to cheek, and the baby's going to extend under her arm. What you're looking at now is sort of stubby, but the shouldering is actually way up here. Like that. And it'll come down into a curve, like an arch of her arm, like that. And I have to keep it set down so it doesn't squash little tiny toes, because it is pretty imbalanced at this point. Oop. Once I remove it, maybe the wood it won't be. And this piece didn't really even look like a whale when I first started it. Underneath was very rotten, and this was straight across here like a big thick bump. And these were the branches that I wanted to use for the arm, so I left them in. It's going to be much more fragile, sort of like Bill Dana's piece. It actually, this is the same kind of wood. And so it will hollow quite similarly. Like right here, this one may be a breacher, I'm not sure, because the center of the tree itself is right here. So I could literally stand it on something and hold it up like that. Okay, now everybody out of the way. And that's what I look for when I'm trying to find pieces to carve. I want the tree to look like the piece that I'm going to have. This one's going to be about a 6-foot piece with, and it's perfect that I have the grasses growing into it, and the critters are starting to chew on it and get underneath the bark. And once I debark it, I'll get more of an idea of where things are and what it's really going to look like. But for now, it's just, it needs to season, and the bugs working on it actually protects it from checking. If you know anything about thick wood, it dries on the outside much faster than the inside, so it splits. You'll see it in all kinds of stuff, the checking or the cracking. And so for it to not be seasoned would be foolish to try to carve it. It might just split in a bad place. So it'll start to check, it'll dry, and then I'll know where to take the wood away so that I'm not just going to end up with a bad whale. But as you can see, this one is not symmetrical. This is going to be the tail fluke. And so the way you deal with that is you bring it in, it's going to be curving off in this direction. There's going to be an arch or a slight curve in the tail. And it will be approximately out to here. The center of it will be right about there. It's going to be this wide when I'm finished. And then the tail